You may not say it out loud, but the thought has probably crossed your mind more than once. When I can't manage everything myself anymore, my kids will help. They'll step in. They'll take care of me. After all, I took care of them. It's not spoken with entitlement. It's not said with arrogance. It often comes from a place of love, trust, and quiet hope. But the idea sits there beneath conversations about retirement, behind choices not to downsize, within the decision to skip talking to a financial planner because someone will catch me if I fall. Here's the hard truth. Your adult children were never meant to be your retirement plan. And the longer you wait to build a life that stands independently of their help, emotionally, financially, practically, the more fragile everything becomes. Not just your security, but your relationships. This isn't about blame. You've likely spent decades sacrificing for your family. You worked long hours, skipped vacations, cared for them when they were sick, helped them through heartbreak, gave up sleep, gave up space, gave up parts of yourself they'll never fully see. So it's natural to assume that love, when it's real, is reciprocal. That one day it'll come back around. But here's the thing. Retirement is not just a financial transition. It's a relational one. And if your plan for security in your later years depends on your children stepping in, financially, physically, or emotionally, you're placing pressure on the very people you most want to stay close to. And pressure, even quiet pressure, has consequences. Too many parents reach retirement age without a real plan, quietly assuming their kids will absorb the gaps. They'll help with bills. They'll let them move in. They'll make it work. And many do because they love their parents. But inside that love, something shifts. Expectations grow heavy. Conversations get harder. Visits get less joyful. Love becomes tangled with obligation. And that's a cost no one talks about. This video is for the people who feel that tension building. The ones who love their children deeply but feel disappointed, even hurt, that those children aren't stepping up more. The ones who wonder if they did something wrong. The ones who think, after all I gave, don't I deserve something back? And to you, I want to say, you're not wrong for wanting support. But there's another way to build these years, a freer way. One that lets you rest without resentment, receive without guilt, love without strings. In this video, we're going to walk through 6 real reasons why your adult children should not be your retirement plan. Each one isn't just a reason, it's a door. A way back to clarity, autonomy, and healthier relationships. We'll talk about the invisible emotional weight this dynamic creates, the financial reality your kids may be hiding from you, the cultural narratives that quietly mislead us, and what a life built on true independence can look and feel like, even now. The first and most overlooked reason your adult children shouldn't be your retirement plan is this. Depending on them too heavily changes the emotional texture of the relationship, often in ways no one wants to admit. You may think love is enough, that your bond is strong, that your family has always helped one another, and that asking for support now is just part of the cycle. But over time, something begins to shift beneath the surface. It starts small, subtle, and then, almost without noticing, both sides begin to carry something that love alone can't always hold. It's called obligation, not the kind that's spoken outright, not the kind that comes from anger or resentment, but the kind that tiptoes in when one person starts to feel like they're needed more than they're wanted. You see it in the way your child hesitates before answering the phone, in how they put off a visit they once looked forward to, in the way they smile and say, of course, when you ask for something, but something in their voice feels tighter. It doesn't mean they don't care. It means they're overwhelmed. It means they're afraid to say no. It means your needs may be louder than their capacity, and neither of you has found the words to talk about it honestly. Marilyn, 74, used to think she and her daughter had the perfect relationship. They spoke daily, saw each other every weekend, shared everything. But when Marilyn moved in after a minor fall, just for a few months, she said, things began to change. Her daughter became less affectionate. Her teenage grandson stopped joining them for dinner. And one evening, after a small disagreement over laundry, her daughter snapped, I just want my house back. It broke something in both of them, not because the words were cruel, but because they were honest. What Marilyn hadn't seen was that she'd stopped being a guest. She had become an expectation, and her daughter, loving, devoted, busy, was drowning beneath the weight of a responsibility she couldn't name without sounding ungrateful. This is not failure. This is not about blame. This is about acknowledging what most people are too ashamed to say. Even the deepest love has limits, and when support becomes assumed instead of offered, the relationship suffers. You didn't raise your children to parent you, and they didn't grow into adulthood expecting to reverse roles. That shift, when it comes, needs to be navigated carefully, with clarity, with boundaries, with ongoing consent. Without it, both sides start performing instead of connecting, and love becomes work. If you want closeness in these years, protect the freedom inside that closeness. Let your children love you without feeling like they owe you. Let them visit because they want to, not because they're afraid not to. Let the relationship evolve, yes, but not under pressure. The second reason your adult children should not be your retirement plan is a practical one, but its consequences reach far beyond money. It's this: depending on them financially can quietly destabilize both their future and yours. And often, no one talks about it until the damage has already begun. You may not feel like you're asking for much. Maybe it's help with groceries, a car payment, a bit of help covering property taxes. Maybe it's just the unspoken understanding that if something goes wrong, if your savings run out, if your benefits aren't enough, your child will step in. But what seems small to you might not feel small to them, especially now, because here's the reality. Most adult children, even the successful ones, are already stretched thin. They're raising kids, paying mortgages, dealing with inflation, student debt, medical bills, and the pressure to have it together even when they don't. Many are one emergency away from real financial strain. And when parents rely on them without full transparency or mutual planning, it adds another weight to shoulders already tired. The most dangerous part? They often won't tell you. Out of love, out of fear, out of not wanting to disappoint you, they say yes. They help. They offer what they can. But behind that yes may be a quiet panic they don't feel safe enough to name. They start sacrificing their own savings, their own plans, their own security. And they do it with a smile, but at a cost they carry alone. Stephen, 48, helped his mom pay rent for over 2 years after she moved into a more expensive senior apartment. He never told her how hard it was. He just adjusted, cut back on his kids' activities, skipped vacations, delayed dental work. When he finally told her, he was shaking. I didn't want to make her feel guilty, he said, but I couldn't keep pretending it was fine. And his mother? She was devastated. Not because he had said no, but because she hadn't realized he had already been saying yes at a cost to himself. When support becomes a hidden sacrifice, resentment grows in the dark. And even if your child never says a word, something in the relationship shifts. You feel it in the hesitations, in the missed calls, in the way money becomes a topic to avoid. Financial dependence can also backfire emotionally. It keeps you in a place of waiting, of uncertainty. It prevents you from making decisions with full ownership, and it leaves your sense of dignity in someone else's hands. That's not freedom. That's fear in disguise. To build true peace in retirement, you need your own foundation. That doesn't mean wealth. It means clarity. It means knowing what you have, what you need, and what's sustainable without quietly hoping someone else will make up the difference. The third reason your adult children can't be your retirement plan is more hidden, but just as powerful. It's the quiet voice of tradition. The idea passed down through generations that says, parents give when children are young. Children give when parents are old. It sounds fair, even honorable, but in practice, it often leads to confusion, unmet expectations, and emotional distance. Because what feels like respect in one generation may feel like pressure in the next. And unless that shift is acknowledged, love gets tangled in disappointment. Many of us were raised with this idea, especially those of us who grew up watching our grandparents move in with family or saw aunts and uncles care for aging parents without complaint. Back then, it was normal, expected, often necessary. But the world has changed. Families live farther apart. Careers demand more. Life moves faster. And though love still runs deep, the structures that once supported multi-generational care have eroded. What happens now is more complicated. Parents quietly hope their kids will step in. Kids feel guilty for not being able to, and both sides end up feeling like they failed, when really, the failure was in not updating the story. Luis, 80, raised 3 children with the belief that family sticks together no matter what. When his health declined, he expected one of them would take him in. But all 3 had families of their own, full-time jobs, and small homes. No one said no directly, but no one said yes either. The silence grew. So did the resentment. Finally, his youngest son said, "I love you, but I can't give you what you're asking. I'm barely holding everything together myself." Luis was crushed, not because his son didn't care, but because he realized he'd been waiting on a promise no one had actually made. That's the danger of unspoken scripts. They write expectations on our hearts, and we assume everyone else is reading the same page. But they aren't. And when reality doesn't match that script, it feels like betrayal, when really, it's just misalignment. Letting go of that old story doesn't mean abandoning values. It means honoring love in the present, not trying to reenact the past. It means creating new agreements with your children based on what's possible, not what's inherited. It means opening honest conversations, asking questions like, what kind of support can we both feel good about? Or how can I plan now so I don't become a weight later? This isn't weakness. This is wisdom. Because when you update the story, you give everyone permission to show up more honestly, without guilt, without guessing, without the weight of generations pressing down on choices that need to be made for this time, not the last one. The 4th reason your adult children shouldn't be your retirement plan isn't just about them. It's about you. Because even if they say yes, even if they help, even if they step in, even if they carry you willingly, there's something else at stake. Something quiet, something hard to talk about. Your own sense of identity, your own dignity, your sense of self. Dependence, even when it comes from love, changes how we see ourselves. It reshapes our confidence. It narrows our choices. And over time, it can make even the most capable person feel small. We stop dreaming. We stop planning. We start apologizing for our presence. And that isn't what any of us wants for these years. There's a unique kind of sadness that comes from losing your sense of usefulness. From feeling like your time is no longer yours. Like you're being managed, rather than moving through life on your own terms. It doesn't always look like despair. Sometimes it looks like silence, like avoiding decisions, like withdrawing from the world slowly, day by day. Janet, 77, moved in with her son and daughter-in-law after a hip replacement. She was grateful, truly, but as weeks turned to months, she began shrinking into herself. She stopped gardening, stopped buying her favorite tea, didn't feel right inviting friends over. It wasn't anything they did, she said. It was that the house didn't feel like mine. And without realizing it, I stopped feeling like me. This isn't about pride. It's about sovereignty, about the deep human need to feel like we still own our lives, that we have agency, that we're not simply drifting through someone else's plan. The longer we avoid building our own systems of support, be it financial, social, medical, the more fragile our independence becomes. And the more we lean on our kids without boundaries, the harder it becomes to stand on our own, even when we want to. But here's the beauty. It's never too late to reclaim that autonomy. It starts small. It starts with one decision you make on your own, one plan you revise, one conversation you initiate where you say, I want to create a future that doesn't depend on you carrying me. That doesn't mean cutting people off. It means strengthening your foundation so the love between you can be free from strain. So you can meet your family not as someone waiting to be rescued, but as someone who's walking beside them with dignity, clarity, and choice. And that kind of presence, that kind of grounded independence, it creates space for real connection, for laughter again, for trust to grow. So where does all of this leave us? After everything, after the love you've given, the sacrifices you've made, the hope you've carried that your children would one day return that care. What do you do now? What does it really look like to build a life that isn't dependent on them, but still deeply connected? A life that honors everything you've poured into others, while also finally pouring something back into yourself. It starts with truth, with laying down the quiet script that says you're only okay if someone else steps in. It starts with choosing something radical in this world of quiet dependence. Your own freedom. Freedom to make decisions without waiting for permission. Freedom to feel joy without guilt. Freedom to create a retirement, not just financially, but emotionally, that's rooted in peace, not pressure. Building this kind of life isn't about going it alone. It's not about cutting ties. It's about choosing the right kind of support, a constellation of people, systems, and resources that don't revolve around your children's availability. It means asking for professional guidance, not just family favors. It means planning for what's next, even if it's uncomfortable. It means cultivating friendships that aren't tied to obligation, finding purpose in places beyond the home, creating rhythms that serve you without waiting for someone else's schedule to align. Paul, 81, made a decision at 74 to downsize and move into a retirement community, not because he had to, but because he wanted to reclaim something. He told me, "I didn't want to spend my last years waiting on someone else's time. I wanted to have my own life again." And what happened? His relationship with his daughter improved. She stopped carrying unspoken guilt. They laughed more, visited more, because love no longer carried the weight of duty. That's what freedom does. It clears space. It heals what strain has begun to grow. It makes room for the kind of relationships that are chosen, not required. Relationships that feel like warmth, not responsibility. And that, in the end, is the greatest gift you can give your children. The permission to love you freely, not fearfully. So if you've been holding out hope that your kids will step in, carry you, provide what's missing, let that hope evolve. Let it become something more grounded, more loving, more sustainable. Hope not for rescue, but for partnership, for clarity, for grown-up conversations, for shared dignity. And if this video helped you reframe something, if it softened a belief, or gave you the courage to start planning your life differently, leave a comment below. Let others know what part of this spoke to you. Share your experience, because the more we name these truths, the more we release the quiet guilt so many are carrying. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us, because this chapter of life is still yours to shape. With intention, with love, and most of all, with freedom. Thank you for being with us. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Let's keep walking this road together and on our own 2 feet.